There's so many people have said, I'm becoming so much more confident as a result. I tried something in L&D Shakers and I went and I proposed it at work. And so now I'm suddenly able to do that and my manager's praising me and a year later, I'm up for a promotion.
Welcome to Don't Step on the Bluebells, the podcast where personal healing and transformation take center stage. I'm your host, Amanda Parker, and I'm a fellow seeker on the journey of personal growth. Join me as I delve into the stories of gifted healers, guides, and everyday people who have experienced remarkable transformations. Listen in as they share their practical wisdom to enrich your everyday life. And don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss a new episode. Welcome to today's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells. I am here with the incredible Anamaria Dorgo, a woman who I greatly admire and who has had a big impact on my journey over these last years. She is a learning and community consultant. She's also the founder of the L&D Shakers community. She's got a podcast, a newsletter. So anything that you could possibly want to know about the learning space or about what it's like to either build or be within community, Anamaria is the go-to resource. I'm so happy that you're here today. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm getting very emotional hearing you talk about me. So thank you. It's really special to be here today.
Yeah, for me too. Our friendship began a couple of years ago. I think we were just saying it's about 3 years since we first met. We met through your community. So I found my way into the L&D Shakers community, and somehow I don't even remember how we started talking. And it's just been like magic ever since.
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember how we first talked, but I remember the first kind of experience that I had with you as a coach when you so generously gifted me this Be With You session, which I still remember. I recall what it was like. I recall what we talked about. I remember what I was feeling. I remember a lot of these things from that moment onwards. And I think after that moment, we kind of kept in touch in very different shapes and forms now through the years. So yeah, it's L&D Shakers that has brought us together.
Yeah, and so many others. So, one of the reasons I was so keen to have you on, Anna Maria, is like when I think of community, you are the only person who comes to mind. I mean, I've been a part of a lot of different communities over the years, but there's something really special about how intentional and thoughtful you are with what you create. So it goes beyond just, okay, I've got, this whatever web page or channel that people can log into and talk to each other. No, you've really either uncovered the secrets or shown us the secrets or are discovering all along the way how to help people belong and create meaning and do something magical together. So today I'm really excited just to dive into the topic of community and like what that means to you, but also how that can be a vessel for healing.
Let's do it. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, I'm talking about communities all the time from all the different angles, but never from this angle. It's the first time. So I'm excited. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I'd be curious to know, like if you were thinking of the community work that you do and you wanted to explain that to your 5-year-old self, how would you describe it?
I maybe would say that it's like you bring together the people you really like spending time with and hanging with. And in that space, it can be a garden, whatever your favorite spot is to hang out with this crowd, with these people. You get to do the most fun and exciting games and activities and plays with one another that really gives you energy. So by the end of the day, you feel just a lot of energy and happiness after spending time with these people that you really like. So, and I think that would make my 5-year-old self very happy to hear. I think she's going to be like, yes, sign me up.
So you find a secret garden and people you like and you hang out there.
Hey, that's it. Play games.
So, like, listening to you talk about that, what do you think makes the way that you view community different from maybe how some others are looking at community?
Yes. I think that over the past few years, maybe even before that, but over the past few years that I've been aware of it happening, there's a lot of talk about community that makes me incredibly happy. There are organizations that want to start communities. There are individuals that want to bring together peers and like-minded people in form of communities. That is fantastic. There's also very often the word is attached uh, to other things like my LinkedIn followers. I label them as my community. I have a newsletter, and that is my community. And so it's been used, maybe at times overused, abused, and I feel that if we're using it and attaching it to different things that are not true communities, we might be doing the concept of the word a bit of a disservice to me. And they come in so many different shapes and forms, and definitely a newsletter list can evolve in a community for sure if you put in the thought and the intention behind that. To me personally, communities are spaces where people that have common challenges, questions, goals, there has to be some very strong red thread amongst them. They come together to collectively enable some form of a transformation or a change that it is otherwise um, maybe not impossible to achieve alone, but definitely would take more time, more struggle, more energy to go on that transformation path alone that it is to go together. The way I look at communities and the type of communities that I will always strive to create and advise others to create are communities where members are enabled to make that space their own, communities that are much more distributed at the center. So, beyond just the initiator or the person that started the idea or the community, there is always a person or two, like, or a small group that starts that for sure. You will always have it be steered by someone first. But I think as the community progresses, I would always recommend people to just build it with the rest of the members. It's not yours, it's ours. And if you do that, you will find yourself motivated years after you've launched it. You will find yourself supported by others. You will find that you have still the energy to keep going, creative ideas to keep going because you're not alone. Otherwise, I think it's very hard to sustain it over time. And sadly, I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of communities fold or die out is because it's hard to sustain them. And so if you don't distribute that, if you always keep that burden on your shoulders, that's hard over time. It's hard for anyone. So I always say just create a space where people can raise their hands and come up with ideas and do things, which also means you sometimes have to fight this need of control that we all have when we put something into the world. And I've been there and I'm still there, and it's a constant journey. But yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's how I would describe, and we can go into any of this little buckets if you want to. But yeah.
Well, I think it's really fascinating that well, first of all, that you share different ways that people are thinking about community. So, the way that some people might be defining it, because I completely agree with you that it's a word that's like pretty overused at the moment. And if everything is a community, then like, what does that actually mean? And it's not that some people aren't building community. Maybe the mailing list is the community, right? But unless you're intentionally trying to, I don't know, like bring people together or cultivate a conversation, we start to lose meaning in the word. Like it no longer holds, am I just really a part of 1,000 different communities? In which case, like, please stop because I'm overwhelmed and like I don't need that many spaces. Um, but I think it's also really interesting to think about, I think in the online business world, a lot of people are building communities as a business model. I know it's something that I'm also entering myself, but if you're doing it centered around the person who launches it, like how interesting is that for people long term or for you to keep leading that space?
Yes. So I have a few thoughts here. I always tell people, well, if you're struggling to define what a community is or is not, like compared to everything else that is out there that we name community, I always tell, if you're not there, if for a week you're on mute, you're not there, you don't talk, you don't share, you don't post, you don't send anything out, is the community, are the other people able to talk to one another and share and continue to create value and connect and exchange? So that is where a newsletter list, that's very hard because if I'm not sending my newsletter this week, there's no conversation. So there's those people are facing my direction and I'm facing their direction. And it's very often very unidirectional. It's the same with social media. Yes, you have the opportunity to comment, but if I'm not posting anything, no one talks to me. So I have to have this first, I have to put something out there and receive like reciprocity from the rest. And yes, you can create a conversation, but I always tell people, well, if you want to turn your newsletter audience in a community, you need to find a space where these people can talk to one another without you being there. And your email list is not enabling that. Then yes, community as a business, it's out there. It's a hard thing to do. I don't have that experience. I have not built a community as a business so far. I know very few people that have done that successfully. And there's always this, either you're trying to build it like distributed and invite everyone in order to make it sustainable for you, because otherwise, if it's centered around you as an expert, and there's plenty of examples in that realm that are working really well, but I think as the expert or the initiator, if you're building it around you, you're locking yourself up in that role. And so once you've locked yourself up in that role, it's very hard to for other people to step up, because that's not how that's not the norm, that's not the example, the behavioral examples, that's not how you've built it. So it is a bit harder to turn around after a while and be like, I know that this has been centered around me and my expertise for years, but now can you talk to one another and can you start to share magically and just be active and engage and contribute? That's hard. uh, and also, if you lock yourself in that you got to keep on going. Like you have to keep on going. And I think you mentioned that, like, how interesting or fun is that for me? So can you entertain yourself alone in front of these people for a year or two or three or four, right? And maybe you can, but I would always say it's so much easier to just have a bunch of other people that are entertaining, right? And have that group of people that are constantly changing, and you have people that coming with fresh ideas that you probably have never thought about. So that's the community. It's a bit, I like to build it where over time it's a bit detached from me. So it's suddenly not Anna Maria's thing. It becomes our thing. And then everyone feels a bit responsible and proud of the space we're collectively creating. That gives me a break at times, to be honest. Like I cannot be in the community for a month because life happens, life happens and you have to take breaks. And so I think I would be very saddened to see a project that you pour your heart into fade away or disappear just because life happened and you need to take a step back.
Well, that I think was role modeled so beautifully last year with when people within the L&D Shakers community got so excited about creating like an in-person experience and created a whole team around what that looks like and bringing people together. So I flew out to Amsterdam for that event last October, along with, you can tell me how many other people, but it was a huge group of us that had flown in from everywhere, which is such a testament to like the excitement and joy and like fun that they have in that space, that people were actually like self-organizing. I know that you were also a part of the organizing team, but you hadn't been the initiator of the idea. And still, it created this whole in-person momentum of like everyone going, "Yes, I'm going to the L&D Shakers event. Yay!"
Yes, and even on that, indeed, there were 10 people in the team that organized it, and the idea wasn't mine. But I remember the people that were coming in the emails that we had like sent with them back and forth before. It's like, is there anything I can do? Do you still need facilitators? Can I take over something? Can I help with something? And so that was really fun to see where people were coming in as participants and they paid obviously a ticket and a hotel and everything to be there, and they still felt like I'm not going there to be served something on a platter. Like we probably, I am like that when I'm going to conferences or I'm going to events. Okay, I'm paying a ticket. I am
Entertain
here
me,
to
please.
observe. I am here to take in. There's someone else that organizes. But in the Shakers case, people were all like reaching out to, hey, can I help? Do you need something? What can I do to create the thing? Which I think speaks to the culture. I will, maybe if you want to call that the culture that we've built inside the community. So yeah, that was, it was a fun one. It was a hard one, but it was a really fun one.
Yeah. I mean, organizing an event of that size doesn't
Hey,
sound easy no matter what.
it was good memories that we've created for ourselves.
So tell me, how did you get here? How did you even come to a place that you wanted to intentionally create community?
So I'm Romanian. I grew up in Romania. I went to study there. So I studied there in the Romanian educational system, which is not very Montessori like flavored. So it was very traditional and typical. The core of it all, it started sometime in high school when I started being part of national programs for young people, for students. And then later on in university and during my master's, I was always very pulled and drawn to student organizations. And student organizations are communities. They are self-managed by the students. They have committees. You apply to be part of the team that steers everything. And that type, I didn't knew that back then. But what I knew was that as a person, I was drawn to spaces where I was invited to contribute and share, and I was gifted the trust that I can do that. And sometimes I felt that in school very, very seldomly, like very rarely. I felt that I'm trusted with something and that I have something in me. I felt as a student, I felt like you don't have it in you. And then so you have to listen and sit in your bench and sponge it in and learn. That's the whole purpose of it. You don't know, we know, and then you sponge it in, you take it in, and then you become wiser and you become smarter. And I found that these other spaces were like, oh, this social learning, again, those were concepts that I didn't have back then, but I know now that that is what it was. It was peers, same level, eye level, coming together, trusting each other, being a bit bold, a bit curious, not caring too much about the results. Everything was very experimental. So it was just a massive playground or sandbox, if you want. And so what that did to my knowledge on one side, but the most important part was my self-confidence, my confidence in who I am and what I can do, and my voice matters, and I have something to share. And when I open my mouth, there are people that look at me and nod and thank me for an insight. And not only that, I can then contribute to something. So I'm taking away, but I also feel useful in that space. um, and then in my master's, I discovered this concept of communities of practice during my studies. And the moment I that got explained to me in a course, I knew that that's that's the topic of my master's dissertation. So I reached out to the professor, and I contributed to the study of communities of practice within academia. And then I started working in HR and in L&D, and somehow I parked that idea, and it surfaced for me in a moment in which I felt the need for community. That was 6 years ago. I was working as the only learning and development person in a company. Uh, it was really fun because my manager trusted me to do a lot of things, and that was beautiful. But after a while, I felt the need to come together with other people that were doing the same thing for two main reasons. One, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel all the time. It's like I'm pretty sure that there are other people that work on an onboarding program, that work on a leadership development program, that that are working on projects that are sitting now on my to-do list. It's like, who are these people and how can I learn from them? Because I don't want to spend too much. I just want to go for the best practices and the ideas that I know that work. And the second piece was this: I want someone to look at my work and give me feedback that comes from I've been there and done that. Like, watch out for this, maybe tweak that. So that was my very personal need. And that's when L&D Shakers started. It was never meant to be what it is today. So I think it's good to mention that it didn't start with this big vision to be a global community of online and offline and so many events and so many programs and projects for thousands of people. That was not the idea. My idea at the beginning was, I was living in Amsterdam by that time, in the Netherlands, where I'm still based. My idea was, I just want to find 5 or 7 people that work in other startups in learning and development to get together once a month around the table with our laptops, with our work, and actually look in each other's work and learn from one another. So that's how it all started. Um, and yeah, that was 5 years ago, and now the rest is history. And it's been a wild ride, very rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It's just a testament to like you were answering your own need by saying, okay, does anyone else want to get together? And if I remember correctly from stories you've told me before, you were just trying to find a community to come together like in Amsterdam to start. And then I think COVID happened, it started going online, and then more people started hearing about it. And turns out you weren't alone in that desire of finding others you could come together with to, in a way, talk shop.
That's it. Well, before I started anything, I was looking for it. I was like, is there, like, where are learning and development meeting in Amsterdam? Is there a club? And back then it was this, the Meetup app where you could create meetups. And it's like, I went to Meetup. It's like, is there any type of, and I couldn't find anything. And so I started this. I'm happy I didn't knew so much about community, or I'm happy that I didn't knew where this is gonna end, because probably that would have been, not probably, most definitely that would have been too big of a project and too intimidating for me to feel back then that I could do that. And so it started very small and very shy. And I think the one thing that we did really well, me and the people that were there, like at the beginning, we just went with the flow. Like, we just capitalized on momentum and energy, and COVID came and we moved online, and we just went and did the next logical step. And then if you constantly do the next logical thing and the next small thing and the next small thing, you look back and suddenly it's 2 years, you're 2 years in it, and you look back, it's like, oh my god, we've done so many things. Like, look at this, so many events, and now we have a free coaching program, and now we're working on running an online conference or whatever, because you constantly do this next logical thing that arises, or idea that comes from the energy and from the people and what you're learning and what you're hearing and what you're seeing. So, and I remember back then, many people was like, what is the strategy? Like, where is L&D Shakers going? It's like, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, we're doing what feels right and what's fun and what we believe it's useful for us. What is useful? What do we need? We create it. That's it. That was the strategy. And it's still the strategy today. If someone has an idea of something and they believe that what might be useful for a big chunk of the members, they just go ahead and do it.
I know a lot of our listeners here are healers or on some kind of healing path, maybe some path of, discovering spirituality. And I think you're speaking to a lot of the audience in sharing that because we often think, and I'll speak for myself, like I often think I need a plan. I need to control the outcome. I need to know where I'm headed. I need to like map out all the steps to get there. And whenever I do that, I never end up where I think I will. So all that time and energy spent in like the planning and figuring out and the strategy of things is often a bit wasted. I'm not saying it's always a waste because I think it's good to, dream big and have ideas and visions, but this way of just like to put it into these terms, like kind of surrendering to what wants to evolve and then responding to it as it comes up is so much more in flow and more playful and gives so many more opportunities to create something bigger than you could have imagined
Mhm.
had you tried to plan it.
Mm, 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 mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think what worked really well, and this is how I see the community evolving with other people doing so many things. I mean, L&D Shakers now has a core team of 65, maybe more members. And this is not counting the coaches and our mentors and the speakers that come to obviously contribute. Everything is member led. But I think as I heard you talk about that, this, oh, I'm stuck in planning. I see that a lot. And sometimes I'm tempted to do that as well. I think I have the benefit of being this I plan better once I commit to something. So once I know that okay, there's something that has to come to life, it has to take shape, it's an event, it's a comfort, whatever it is. And so that strategy I noticed that works really well. And I always tell people, well, let's fine tune a bit the idea, but you don't have to have all the answers. Fine tune it, commit to the idea, and put a deadline. And the moment you do that, your brain will figure out ways to do it, to make it happen, but commit to something, to a clear artifact outcome, something, because the moment it's a project, your brain will make it happen and you will make it happen.
I
So
don't know why you're not the coach.
hey.
I mean, that's brilliant. I'm going to take notes after this call. But it really does remind me of something my coach has often taught me, and that really was a lesson I needed to learn about. Like, you need to commit. You have to decide and commit. And once you commit and you put your energy towards that, it's also like it's a sign to like the whole world around you, to yourself, to your own energy, to like the people around you, if you believe in the universe or whatever it is, like everyone's listening, like, okay, we're gonna make this thing happen now. And that's probably very true that a lot of the planning that happens, like when you really go into that planning, analysis, paralysis kind of space, which is very easy when you love thinking and it's a strong suit of yours, you're no longer able to really like just move freely and respond to what's coming up. And it's probably a pretty like intelligent form of procrastination.
Yeah, because the truth is that there are infinite ways to create something. So you can be in that planning and dreaming and maybe this and maybe that and maybe perfect it forever, because you actually can. Like, that is a reality. If you would take forever to do that, forever you will have ideas. When you commit to an action and you put a deadline and you probably bring two other three people to do it, and you're like, okay, now it's the three of us and we have to do this by whatever next month, you're forcing yourself to commit to decisions and actions. And even though maybe if we think, we're going to come up with something better, but at that point the deadline is forcing you to just, it doesn't matter, commit to something now and bring it to life.
Yeah, there's like a huge creative force in the constraint. So
Yes,
by giving yourself the
correct.
constraint, And I guess, like for a lot of us who are like running our own businesses, we don't have all those constraints. Maybe sure about like getting money in or a certain number of clients or who knows what, but you're often lacking external constraints unless you have like the client work, you know? And so it can be really difficult to realize that actually that constraint gives you more freedom, more creativity, and helps you either bring something to life, and like either way you're going to learn from it. It can succeed or fail, doesn't matter. You're going to learn something powerful from
Mm.
doing it.
There's this, you're gonna succeed or you're gonna learn. That's important because I think that some of the things that keep us in this over analyzing and planning is our desire to minimize the risk of failure as much as we can. So I know that sometimes we say, "Oh, I'm gonna try it, and then if not, I'm," but actually I don't want that. So that's why I feel that we sit too much in this planning mode at times. I like to ask people, "Are you like, why are you taking this too seriously? Like, why are you making such a big
Yes,
deal out of the
always.
things?" You know? Like, I think we take ourselves too seriously, and we sometimes see ourselves in such a high regard, and it's I have that in certain areas of my life too. I somehow allowed this community to be the space where it's not about that. I will always do my best, but I know that that's the space where I show up as the mad scientist, the experimenter. It doesn't have to make sense. It has to be fun. I'm going to do something. I want to put something out there. It's not going to be perfect. And that's okay because that's the whole point of being in a lab with your lab coat and experimenting. So I think that's also a matter of a bit of a mindset or reframing, probably, of what this project is to you. And maybe if you attach your livelihood, your business, etc., to it, I can see how that can be a weight that will stop you from moving forward with little experiments and just see what happens. Because when something very important like your money, your business, etc., depends on it, or you feel like it depends on it, that's hard because that rubs against creativity at times, or even this boldness of, ah, I don't know, this is just for fun, let's see what happens, let's just put it out there and figure and see what comes back. It's just an experiment. So I think there's something to explore there at that mindset overlap and what meaning or labels you attach to the community, or yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different energy if you're entering with a sense, first of all, of like, I really need this space and how can I make it valuable for me and others? You know, how can we all get what we're needing, what we're yearning for? It's a very different energy to enter that with play, experimentation, as opposed to, okay, I'm gonna have this many members and earn this much money and da da da. And like at some point, because I'm not against paid communities. I know you may have different views on some of it, right? Like I'm not against a paid community, but what is it serving? And at some point does it just finish serving that purpose and then it's done, you know? So in my own life, I would say I've had different kind of communities that I've like started and led. Some just in the form of like masterminds, you know, 5 of us are coming together for like a year or 2 and talking about either business or running a coaching practice or, you know, practicing different forms of shamanic healing or things like that. And we come together and it's always very clear to me when our initial mandate has kind of run out, you know? And for me, that's usually been a sign to say, like, thank you. Look at this amazing thing that we've done and built together, and like, goodbye. And it's usually the point of ending. But from what I'm hearing with what you're describing, especially in like specifically in the L&D Shakers community, but also just your mindset about community, that would just be an invitation to say, okay, what do I need now? How can I grow? How can we grow? Do we need to invite new people in? So there's a different kind of playfulness if you're willing to be more experimental and see beyond what is this one goal that you're really like angling towards. When that goal is fulfilled, then what?
Totally. And also this the fact that certain, particularly for smaller communities or like the mastermind, it has a very clear purpose, and that purpose will be achieved, and the community is closed. And that is so normal and absolutely fine. And I would even say, don't try to push to stretch it if it served its purpose. And even
Now we're gonna
there,
talk about baking.
there we go.
No
Yeah. So that's,
thanks.
but that's the thing. Like, okay,
Yeah.
it evolves in something else. If those five people suddenly discovered a passion for baking, whatever, and yeah, it can evolve. That's not a problem. But then just know that this project, this community, this group has served its purpose because we all reached the finish line. And certain communities are built like that. They have a clear. It's a very straight step by step from A to B, or A to Z in this case, right? So you go to A, B, blah, blah, and then you reach Z, and then you say, okay, it's over. And L&D Shakers, on the other hand, is this ongoing space. And I think it became that because it grew so big at the beginning, because there was a need that so many people had, and now there was that space that we were creating, and so people flocked naturally to that. And COVID was about, we were 5 months in when COVID started, and then we opened it up, like we were meeting online. And so it was like, it didn't matter if you live in UK, right? And we were in Amsterdam, anyone could join. And so that definitely was the right moment at the right time, in the worst context ever, I think. But for a community, for our community, and for many online communities, that was a strong push and energy boost. Because maybe you remember, everyone, we were all online, crazy about learning, and I was attending so many freaking webinars every day, and lunch and learns, and all I was doing was like logged into some Zoom all the time. And so that was the time to do that. It was the perfect moment. um, and I think because it grew so much, we now have this, it's an ongoing space. Like, we don't know when L&D Shakers it's gonna die, or it's gonna fade, because we have constantly new members and fresh members. But if I look closely at the people inside, or the dynamics inside, you do have that thing of people coming in, they have a purpose, they got to their personal Z, and they're out. And that, but so there's constant people that get to Z all the time, but at the same time there's constant people for whom L&D Shakers represents the A today. So it's like an ongoing journey of different people, and some will be done and will leave, and others will just start. So that's the only difference. But at the end of the day, it is the same dynamics as what you just said with your mastermind. I'm coming in, I have a need, I fulfill that need in 3 months, 6 months, a year, it doesn't matter, 2 years, and I'm going out. And some people come back. So it's because we don't have any rules for that matter. And we're thousands of people. So you don't notice this. Obviously, in a group of five, you notice that much more.
Well, I also think it's interesting because as humans, and maybe this is not in your circles, but in my circles and the people I know, people are afraid to end things. They're like afraid to leave or to close things out or to hurt someone's feelings, you know? So I have found I've had to be clear, and I don't always get it right, but I've had to be clear when I feel that this space is no longer serving, and to be able to say, hey, listen, like, let's celebrate what we've done so that it's not like dragging into some territory where you're dreading getting on like a mastermind call, but that you can honestly say, hey, listen, we're all in such different places now. Look at what we did and find a way to close that space together. And I think, yeah, that's probably just as important, like being really intentional with how you end something the same way that you're so intentional with how you begin it, that people really have that chance to step out gracefully. I remember I was the chair of an alumni committee for, it was called the Coaching Fellowship, I think now it's the Women's Impact Alliance. And I remember because we were an all volunteer team, I think there were 10 of us working together, and we were working together for 18 months. And I had no idea, how do you lead a volunteer team for 18 months and like actually get stuff done? And so I just made it a point to have regular like recommitment conversations that everyone could bow out gracefully without judgment whenever they wanted. But if they were in, they were in. Because I think that can happen, and I'm sure that happens in, like, your community, it's happened in communities that I've been a part of also, where people don't really know how to do that, and they kinda, like, fade out into the background, you know? But there are some people who it's really like, "Okay, are you, like, all in on this? And then I do expect you to show up, and I do expect you to follow through on your commitments," and, um that's what I think is really special also about what you've helped to create and foster, that people want to give their time. I'm not saying they all are like perfect and you don't have to out anyone now, but that they want to, that they actually want to show up because there's, coming to the topic of this conversation, there's also like a healing in that for them. There's something that they're receiving by showing up.
Mm. Yeah. Everyone has a different need that it's being met as a result. And also, and that need changes. So members move and they come in and go. And we had people that were in the community for 2 years and you never really saw them. And after 2 years, they raised a hand and said, now I'm in that moment in my life when I'm willing to take ownership of something and bring something and create something. And years have passed where you would say, like, okay, and that's okay. I just want to go back a bit to this example that you give with endings and working with volunteers and etc. Because when you work with volunteers, it happens. Life happens, and we have so many other commitments and things in that life where we have to be there. And volunteering, by definition, you don't have to be there. So I always tell people this doesn't have to feel like work. This has to bring you something. The moment you feel it's not sparking something, it's time to leave that place for someone else that has the energy and the drive and the motivation to bring it forward. And your example, what you just gave, this at the beginning, at the start of something, there's always motivation and energy. I think that's the moment where these exit routes should be brought into conversation. So the way you've done it and had that recommitment, i think that's the I think that's the number one thing that I recommend community builders to do whenever they have volunteers stepping into roles, or have a deadline, have a mandate, a moment that gives you and the other person the opportunity without shame or uh, dread or any other type of emotion to go into a conversation and talk about the commitment and whether we continue or we drop it. And so that's a spot on example. And in L&D Shakers, that happens as well. We have that, we have put in that thing. So there's a commitment of at least 6 months, ideally a year. And after a year, so in December of every year, I go back to the core team and tell them, friends, how does the next year look like? Is this still it for you? Do you want to keep on going, or do we drop it to someone else? But also, I have this one thing in the onboarding for every new role, every new person in the core team. I always tell them, no one is going to look over your shoulder. No one is here to manage you. Like, this is yours. You're going to hit the ground running. You're going to take this, like, you're going to make this happen. At the same time, the moment you need to drop the ball, please reach out and let me know, Anna Maria, I need to drop the ball. Because the one thing that we want to avoid is you dropping the ball, no one knowing that you dropped the ball, and having someone after a while be like, oh, wait a minute, Amanda's like, she was supposed to be doing this thing. I haven't heard anything. I don't know what's happening. I haven't seen her, her project, her contribution. And so then that puts me in the position of going to knock on someone's door, and I'm happy to do that. But I think it's so much clean. And if I tell the beginning, Amanda, you have the permission, not that anyone has to give it to you, but to drop that ball at any given time. I will take the ball, I would pass it to the community. If someone catches it, the project keeps on going. If no one wants to commit, the project is folded, because if we don't do the things, we don't have the things. So in a members led community where no one is paid to do anything, if we don't do things, we don't have things. So it's as simple as that. in the community. And then to come back to your healing point, one question I always those two questions I ask people when they reach out, say, Anna Maria, I want to do something with the Shakers. I know I know what, or maybe I don't know what. Like different people coming in different angles, but there's always two questions. One is, why are you doing this? Like, this is going to take time. It's going to take energy. You're probably going to have to sit 3 months from now on a Sunday evening working on this project. Why, if someone asks you, why are you doing this on a Sunday at 5 when you could be chilling on your balcony, what are you going to tell them? So, what's that why for you? And that can be anything, be as transparent and as open. For some people, is I want eyeballs on me, my profile, my business. That's perfect. For other people, is I have now 10 years in the industry. I learned so much from so many mentors and people. It's my time to give back generously without waiting anything in return. I just want to contribute. That's my why. So everyone will have a different why. And I think that's their healing. That's the missing piece that they're looking to get, right? So that's their healing journey, or that's their healing expectation. Um, and that's okay. So I asked them, let's narrow down on the why, and then realistically, on your busiest week, how much time do you have to set aside for something that you don't get paid to do? That's it. Those are the only two questions that I ask people from the get go.
Yeah, it sounds like you also help people avoid having to go into shame, because I think that also like can create that awkwardness, like what you were describing. If someone falls off a project or they're not really able to keep up, like if I'm speaking to someone and I like they're supposed to send me something and don't, and then I don't hear from them like ever again, I'm like, oh shit, they entered the shame spiral. Like, no, 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 don't worry, you can still talk to me. So I think like as humans, that can be quite natural when we're like, oh no, I didn't do the thing. And you're helping in advance to avoid that someone feels that. To ask you another question, because I love to ask, well, everyone who comes on the podcast, what is your definition of healing?
Yeah, I think I hinted a bit. Is so you know me, you know that I'm always like, oh no, healing. I don't know if that's my thing. I don't know if that's my cup of tea. That feels like I have so much respect for that word in general. It carries so much weight for me. Um, I knew you were gonna ask this, and so I was like, okay, how do I? What is healing for me? How do I explain it to Amanda? Because I'm sure she's gonna ask me that. Um, and so the definition, or the way I look at it, is there's healing is this process of finding and incorporating a missing piece in yourself. And sometimes you know what that missing piece is, and you go to search for it, and it's like, okay, that's the piece that is missing. How do I find it, and how do I place it? I put it back. Uh, And also in many cases, me included, I know with other people, sometimes you heal and you find missing pieces that you didn't even knew were missing. Like you had no idea, and then you find the piece and it's like, oh my God, I need this. And it fits here, but I didn't knew that I had that little hole there. Both parts matter. How do we move through the world with our relationships, our families, the job with you, the purpose, the side projects or passions, whatever it is, like the way we live our life every day, all we do is try to find missing pieces that we know about, or missing pieces that we don't even know that they're missing. And we only know when we find them. So that that I can see in myself. So that feels like like a definition of healing, that I'm like, okay, that's what it feels like for me.
I mean, that's such a beautiful way of expressing it, that you're like continuously integrating these little pieces and elements of yourself that maybe you didn't even know were missing, to help you just feel, I'm putting my own spin on what you've said, but to help you feel a bit more whole, a
Yes,
bit more
yes,
integrated and
that's it.
complete.
And sometimes you try to fit in a piece and it feels like, okay, it's matching. You know, when you make puzzles and you're like, a piece matches somewhere, like the shape, but it's not where it goes. And so sometimes I think in the healing process, you also have to take pieces out. And it's like, oh no, I know that I filled that hole with something back then, a while back, but actually today I found a piece that it matches that hole better than the old piece. So it's, we also take pieces out. We also exchange pieces, I think, in that healing journey. So also for communities and how our communities healing or where we're going back to that motivation, I think that's different people come into this I'm contributing mindset, and I'm gifting now my time and energy to this collective space for to fill out different holes and puzzles. And for some it might be I just want I just want to contribute. For others, at the very core, it might be I want to be seen, I want to feel useful. For others, I want a space where I can find. In L&D Shakers, there's no manager, there's no salary, there's no one is assessing you. You don't have to deliver. So for some people, it can be this freeing space where they can find and play on the edges of their creativity, which is a piece that probably they don't find at work, where everything has to come in a certain shape and form, and it had to be professional and whatever. So it loosens up, or joy, or so there's so many different pieces that contributing members might try to find in community work. And also, if they do decide to be, those pieces have changed for me. I was looking for one piece, and for something very specific in when I started this and in the first year. And as the community grew and evolved and my role evolved, I started to be like, okay, I got that, but now there's something else that I can take from here. And there's so it also evolves, this drive and motivation, and what keeps bringing you back to the community as contributor, active contributor, that changes over time. As long as you recognize and you're very honest with you and with the rest of the people, the what's in it for you, what's in it for me, why am I doing this? And I ask myself that question very often, like almost every year. I ask myself, like, why am I doing this? It's 5 years and it's hard work. Like, I'm not gonna. It's the most rewarding work, and it's paid off, and it pays off like in unimaginable ways. But it's hard. It's not a walk in the park. Um, so I have to every year I have to go back into myself and be like, what is my why? What is my why this year, and how do I create that, and how do I make that happen for me?
It's really beautiful because, of course, I wanna know, like, what kind of healing or transformation is actually possible in community, and it sounds like you're able like, so much of the healing comes from, like, maybe being able to identify things that you're missing or ways that you wanna grow, and being able to find ways to, like, test that out or act that out within that community space that you can also grow and evolve. If I think about, like, within the healer community that I'm leading, that might be that people are really looking for support as they're, I don't know, like trying out a new healing modality and like, is this working? And has anyone ever had this happen? And or it might be that you're trying to grow your business in a slightly different way and have no idea how to charge for that work. And the things that you're actually working through and what's important to you will change over time. And the community itself is like a healing space as long as you design it that way, of course, that it's like open and welcoming, that it will catch you no matter where you are, support you, lift you up, help you grow into that next version. And that's also incredibly healing, just to feel like you belong, like you can show up as yourself, like you can grow and evolve, and you'll still be welcomed into that space.
At the start, very often people, when they find the community, they say it usually two main buckets. I am alone. I'm trying to find peers. I'm trying to find other people that do the type of work that I'm doing, because I don't want to feel alone in this. In my case, he was like very selfish. I just want playbooks. I want resources. I want to be in the room with the smartest people that do what I do, to learn from them. Like, that was my thing. And for sure, there's other people that are finding L&D Shakers and they're joining for that reason. And then so there's this, I want to belong, or there's something of value here that can bring me forward. at the very start. And then as you go and you, especially when they move through the layers of the community and they move towards the core and towards I'm contributing once and then I'm ready to commit and I'm launching something and I'm starting something, I'm putting something in the community. There's so many people have said I'm becoming so much more confident as a result. I tried something in L&D Shakers and I went and I proposed it at work. And so now I'm suddenly able to do that, and my manager's praising me, and I'm a year later I'm up for a promotion, and I'm pretty sure it's because I get all of these cool ideas that I go and pitch with a lot of confidence because I know they work. Or so it's that confidence or that voice that sometimes people are finding their voice is like, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, I can refine those things. It's so there's so many things in which this shows this healing can show up. I know I can do this, like again confidence or resilience. At times it could also be this sense of power. For me, second third year in L&D Shakers, I use that a lot. The How do I build confidence and power by doing things here in the safe space and sandbox so that I can see myself doing it, so that I can believe that I can do it, so that I can go out of the community when I'm looking for a job or with my manager or, I don't know, negotiating for a raise or pitching a project at work. I can do that from a position of power and confidence because I've been there, done that before, and no one can tell me that I can't do it. There's many healing puzzle pieces I think that
This
people
is like
take.
the absolute golden nugget I've just written down, like the minutes that we're at and the notes to come back to. I mean, like being able to feel confident, to find your own voice, like, man, if that isn't 99% of what I'm helping people discover through coaching, through healing, through whatever it is, like, we want to know ourselves. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to trust ourselves to do things we never imagined possible. And like, if that is not a reason to go join L&D Shakers, I don't know what is.
I'm thinking that in your case, because you work with healers and some are in the journey and so others are at the beginning of their journey. And I see that as well in L&D Shakers with folks that are transitioning into the industry, right? So there's a change. They're going through a change. And maybe in your case, there are people that probably are, they know they're healers, maybe they don't know, maybe they're at the beginning of it, etc., or they're just starting that journey. A community can really, if you meet other people, other healers, it definitely can sharpen that identity of yours as a healer too. And L&D Shakers this manifests with, oh my God, I'm so happy I found you. I was doing this work for so long. I didn't even know this had a name because, my job title is project manager, but I'm delivering trainings and I'm working on facilitations. Like this has a name and it's called L&D. I love it. That's what I want to be doing, right? So when you're immersing yourself in that collective identity of a healer, a learning professional, an innovator, whatever the community might be about, you look around and you're like, oh, these people look like me, right? We have the same values, beliefs, the same type of work, the same questions, challenges, dreams, ideas. And so if they are all triangles, then I know that maybe my whole life people have told me that I'm a circle, but actually now that I look around, maybe I'm a triangle, and that feels so. It can be feel like such a relief at times, especially I imagine with healing, where you're like probably like, I don't know, am I? Can I call myself that? And then you go into the community like, yes, man, call yourself that. And the moment you start to do that, it can feel like a burden is left off your shoulder, and the community helps you fine tune that identity and own it and believe in it and wear it proudly in the world.
For people who are listening and they want more Anna Maria and they want to learn more about community and everything that you're doing, where can they find you? How can they get in touch?
Yes, the best spot is LinkedIn. And if you put my name, you're gonna find me, or maybe we'll put the link in the show notes. And so on LinkedIn, you'll find all of the projects that I'm working on, podcast, newsletter, and everything that I share a lot about communities there. And it's also where you could just reach out with a message if you wanna grab a coffee and chat more about communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is such a fun place on LinkedIn. I have to say, I love following you there. So definitely, I'll link to your LinkedIn in the show notes so everyone can go ahead and get in touch. And just as we're coming to the end of the conversation, is there any advice that you would give to someone who is just starting out?
I always tell people start small. Don't It's okay to dream big, but don't let that the pressure of the big dream prevent you from doing something that you can do today of a value. And I always tell them build something that you would really, really like to see having or happening, bring in the world. That's probably the number one advice I give community builders. You have to need this in your bones. You have to think about it. It's like it's something that kind of doesn't let you not do it. So if you have that, follow it and jump at it, it's gonna be fabulous. But just don't force something into being.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom so generously. You are one of my favorite people, and I'm so happy that I got to have this conversation with you here on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was really, really cool. I loved it. Thanks.
And to everyone who's listening, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells. If you enjoyed this conversation, please give the podcast a 5-star rating wherever you listen. And don't forget to hit subscribe and follow along so you never miss a new episode.